There's someone you just can't seem to stop thinking about. You've tried to move on. You've told yourself it's finished. You convince yourself 100 times to let go and protect your peace. But no matter how hard you try, they keep finding their way back into your thoughts. Not loudly, not desperately, just a quiet, steady pull that you don't fully know how to explain. And you keep asking yourself the same thing. Am I holding on to something that isn't real? Or is there something deeper here that I'm meant to understand? Some people disappear the way seasons do. Slowly, naturally. You don't even notice the exact moment they stop crossing your mind. One day they are there, and the next they are just a memory without weight. Time does what it always does. It softens the edges, dulls the details, makes everything easy to carry. But this one didn't fade. You've given it time. You've created distance. You've filled your days with noise, with work, with conversations, with distractions that were supposed to help you move forward. And still, in the quietest moments, they return, not in chaos, not in desperation, just present, steady, almost calm. And that's what confuses you the most. If it were obsession, it would feel frantic. It would scream for attention. It would make you restless. But this feels different. It feels like something unresolved. Like your mind keeps circling back because your heart never fully understood what it experienced. You tell yourself it shouldn't matter anymore. You remind yourself of the reasons it didn't work. You try to logic your way out of emotion. But the truth is, the mind doesn't cling to what meant nothing. It replays what it hasn't processed. It returns to what left a mark. Maybe it's not about wanting them back. Maybe it's about wanting clarity. Maybe it's about a part of you that changed in their presence, a part that hasn't settled yet. When someone touches something deep inside you, that impact doesn't vanish just because circumstances shift. Not every thought is random. Some are invitations. Invitations to look deeper, to understand what shifted within you, to face what you felt instead of dismissing it. And until you do, your mind will keep reminding you not to trap you in the past, but to help you make peace with it. You keep asking yourself if this is just attachment. If maybe you're holding on because you're afraid to be alone. If maybe your mind is exaggerating something that was never that deep. And the more you question it, the more confused you feel. Attachment is loud. It panics. It needs constant reassurance. It checks the phone. It replays conversations searching for hidden meaning. It fears being replaced. When you're attached, your body feels restless, unsettled, almost desperate to secure something before it slips away. But what you're feeling now isn't that. There's no chaos in it, no frantic energy, just a quiet presence that hasn't disappeared. You're functioning, you're living, you're moving through your days. Yet somewhere beneath all of it, they remain, not as a craving, but as a mark. And that's a difference. An imprint doesn't beg. It doesn't scream for attention. It settles into you because something about that connection shifted you. It opened a part of your heart you didn't know was closed. It exposed fears you didn't know were running your life. It revealed standards you didn't realize you deserved. That kind of impact doesn't vanish when someone walks away. You can detach from a person. You can create boundaries. You can stop communicating. But you cannot erase who you became while loving them. And maybe that's what you're really carrying. Not the need for them, but the awareness they awakened in you. Attachment says, I can't live without this. An imprint says, I am not the same because of this. And once you understand that difference, the confusion starts to clear. You stop labeling your depth as weakness. You stop shaming yourself for remembering. You begin to see that some connections don't cling to you. They transform you. And transformation doesn't disappear just because a person does. You thought distance would fix this. You believed that if you just created enough space, if you stopped talking, stopped checking, stopped reaching, the feelings would eventually shrink on their own. That's what everyone says, right? Give it time. Step back. Let space do its work. And maybe for some connections, that's true. But not for this one. Instead of fading, it changed shape. The chaos settled. The urgency softened. The constant noise inside your head grew quieter. Yet beneath that quiet, something remained, steady, present, almost clearer than before. Have you noticed it hasn't really faded, only become quieter? We're taught that space heals everything, but space only heals what was surface level. It dissolves what was built on habit, on convenience, on temporary excitement. When something is shallow, time washes it away. But when a bond touches something deeper inside you, distance doesn't destroy it. It exposes it. In the silence, you start seeing things you couldn't see before. You replay moments not with desperation, but with awareness. You recognize what you felt, what you ignored, what you tolerated, and what you truly needed. Separation removes distraction. And without distraction, truth becomes impossible to avoid. Maybe that's why this hasn't disappeared. Not because you're weak, not because you're clinging, but because there's something about that connection that revealed a deeper part of you. And that part refuses to be dismissed just because circumstances changed. Distance doesn't always create detachment. Sometimes it creates clarity. It strips away illusion and leaves you face to face with what was real. And when you finally stop fighting that realization, you understand something powerful. What remains after silence is not always longing. Sometimes it's truth. You remember the first time you truly noticed them. Not just their face, or their voice, or the way they made you laugh, but the way being around them made you feel exposed in ways you hadn't expected. You felt raw, unguarded, even unsettled. It wasn't just attraction. It was a reflection of parts of yourself you had hidden, even from yourself. At first, it confused you. You questioned why they stayed in your thoughts, why your mind returned to them even after space, even after silence. You thought it was about them, about wanting them back, about holding on to someone who had already moved on. But that wasn't it. Not really. Some people don't come into your life to stay. Some people come in to show you who you are when no one else is looking. They awaken wounds you thought were buried. They highlight the strength you didn't know you carried. They reveal fears you ignored, truths you denied. And when that awakening happens, it cannot be undone. It cannot be ignored. It becomes a part of you, quietly reshaping how you see yourself, how you feel, how you allow connection to touch you. This is why they linger in your mind, not because they are unfinished, or because they owe you something, or because you need closure. They linger because something inside you has been stirred awake. You've seen yourself mirrored in them, and that reflection refuses to be forgotten. Now, you begin to understand that the connection was never just about them. It was about you, about the parts of yourself you were ready to recognize, to feel, to confront. The truth is, they may leave. Circumstances may change. But what they revealed will stay. What they awaken will continue to move through you, shaping the way you love, the way you trust, and the way you honor yourself. Sometimes the deepest lessons don't arrive wrapped in presence. They arrive in reflection. And that reflection can change everything. You remember the moments that were left hanging, the conversations that never reach an end, the words you wanted to say but held back, the truths you couldn't fully express because it felt too risky, too raw, too exposing. And even though the situation moved on, even though distance grew between you, those unfinished pieces didn't disappear. They settled quietly inside you, like whispers beneath the surface, replaying themselves when you least expect it. Sometimes it catches you in the middle of the night. A memory flashes. A half-formed sentence lingers. You remember the look in their eyes, the pause before they spoke, the silence that followed. Your mind goes there again, not because you're desperate to bring it back, not because you're holding on to what was lost, but because something inside you knows it was never fully processed. The heart doesn't forget what it never had a chance to finish understanding. You start realizing that closure isn't always external. It's not a conversation that needs to happen, a text that needs to be sent, or an apology that needs to arrive. Sometimes closure is internal. It's about acknowledging what was real, what mattered, what you felt. It's about facing the emotions you left unspoken, the vulnerability you withheld, the truths you hid from yourself. That is what lingers, quietly demanding recognition. And when you begin to confront it, you notice something. The weight softens. The replaying memories don't sting as sharply. You start to see that it wasn't about controlling the outcome. It wasn't about needing them back. It was about honoring your own emotional truth. Every unfinished conversation was a doorway into deeper awareness. Every word you never spoke was a mirror showing you how much capacity you have to feel, to care, to connect. The mind may keep returning to what was never finished, but the heart knows a real lesson. Sometimes, what you needed wasn't an answer from them. It was an answer from yourself. And once you recognize that, the echoes begin to fade, leaving clarity where confusion once lived. You remember how it used to feel. Every thought about them carried weight. It pressed on your chest, tangled with your mind, made every quiet moment restless. You replayed every word, every glance, every pause, as if the answers were hidden in the gaps. It felt urgent, confusing, almost unbearable. You believed that if you just understood them, truly understood them, you could finally feel at peace. But time doesn't just pass. It changes things. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the edges of that intensity start to soften. The restless urgency fades. You begin to notice that thinking about them no longer makes you anxious. It no longer forces your heart into desperate loops of what if and why me. Instead, what remains is awareness, a steady, quiet presence that shows you how far you've grown. Growth doesn't erase memory, and it doesn't erase connection. What it does is transform it. What once felt like longing born of need becomes reflection born of understanding. You start to see the difference between wanting someone to fit your story and recognizing the story that shaped you. You notice the subtle shifts in your own heart. Your patience has grown. Your boundaries are stronger. Your clarity is deeper. You understand that you no longer chase answers outside of yourself, because the answers have been forming inside all along. And here's the subtle, powerful truth. When you stop chasing clarity and start embodying it, the dynamic changes. You stop spinning in circles around what isn't in your control. The energy that once demanded resolution now settles into calm confidence. You carry yourself differently. You see the connection, not as something that controls you, but as something that revealed you. So now, ask yourself honestly, are you still missing them, or are you finally understanding yourself? Because when understanding replaces need, longing transforms into insight, and every memory becomes a stepping stone, not a chain. You've been sitting with this weight for so long. The name that keeps coming back, the memories that replay without warning, the quiet pull that tugs at your thoughts, it's all been pressing against you, demanding answers, demanding resolution. You've asked yourself 1,000 times whether you should hold on, whether you should let go, whether this is about them or about you. And all that questioning has left you exhausted, on the edge of surrender, wondering if clarity will ever arrive. But what if the message wasn't about holding on? What if it wasn't about letting go either? What if it was something simpler, yet infinitely more profound? What if the point of this connection wasn't to resolve anything outside of you, but to reveal who you have become in the process? Think about it. Every sleepless night, every pang of longing, every moment of confusion has been shaping you. You've been learning patience you never thought you had, courage you didn't know existed, and a self-respect that refuses to be compromised by uncertainty. You've been discovering your capacity to feel deeply, to endure without surrendering, to stay whole even when longing whispers otherwise. This is the revelation your soul has been whispering all along. The person who refuses to leave your mind isn't just a memory, a mistake, or a lesson in love. They are the mirror that reflected your own strength, your own depth, your own evolution. Whether they return to your life or fade into memory, the transformation they catalyze in you remains permanent. The clarity, the growth, the awareness, that is yours. So now, you realize something extraordinary. This connection is not about them at all. It's about the person you become because of it. The one who can sit with uncertainty and still feel grounded. The one who can love deeply without losing themselves. The one who no longer defines worth by presence, but by inner truth. Ask yourself honestly, in the quiet of your own awareness, do you feel this connection is about them or about who you're becoming? Because the answer to that changes everything.